Congressional District now heads into a runoff. Good afternoon, I'm Alicia Barrera in Laredo, and coming up, we hear from both Democratic candidates.
If your daily routine includes an espresso or a cappuccino, you don't have to visit a coffee shop. Coming up, we are going to show you the clever kitchen gadgets that'll turn you into a barista and save you money.
We may be warming up, but there is another cold front in the forecast. We're going to talk about that and see if there's any chance of rain with it in just a bit. The News at 5 starts right now.
Just in the past hour, city and union negotiators hammering out a new contract for San Antonio police for the next 4.5 years.
Yeah, the deal would last through the city's 2026 fiscal year. It includes a 15% annual raise for officers, as well as a lump sum payment at the beginning of the contract. It also includes changes to officers' discipline, including a measure meant to make it harder for fired officers to get their jobs back.
The union's membership and city council both have to approve this before it's official. City Hall reporter Garrett Berger is at that meeting right now, waiting to speak with both sides, and we'll have more on this at 6.
To election night, and it came down to Cuellar versus Cisneros in the race for Texas' 28th Congressional District. Neither Democrat able to secure the nomination, and now they're headed to a runoff election.
9-term incumbent Henry Cuellar took the lead by about 800 votes, but once again will face immigration attorney Jessica Cisneros at the polls in May.
Alicia Barrera is in Laredo with more on what comes next for the candidates.
Throughout the night, the eyes of Texas were on the votes for the 28th Congressional District. It's the second election that immigration attorney Jessica Cisneros comes close to unseating her incumbent, Henry Cuellar.
I've been in this fight since 2019.
During this campaign, neither candidate secured 50% of the votes for the Democratic nomination, as there was a difference of about 800 votes between each. But in a statement released this afternoon, Congressman Cuellar says in part, "The 28th Congressional District spoke, and we witnessed our democratic system at work. After winning the most votes and showing the largest amount of support, we will now move to a runoff election on May 24th, and we're confident we will win." Now, it's about a voter outreach strategy and policy. Cuellar, a conservative Democrat who has held the congressional seat for 17 years, prides himself on being able to reach across the aisle in Washington. And Cisneros, a progressive Democrat, says she's capable of building a politically diverse coalition.
I think I'd actually be the most independent candidate, especially in this runoff election, to be able to do that because I'm not taking a single dime of corporate PAC money.
And really, the work begins today for both of these Democratic candidates as they head into runoffs to remind their supporters that they need to get back out there and vote again. That runoff election will be on May 24th. In Laredo, Alicia Barrera, KSAT 12 News.
So that's the latest with the Democratic Party in District 28. Last night, the Republican Party for that district had 7 candidates. 2 of them will also face off in a runoff election. Cassie Garcia and Sandra Witten came out on top. That runoff election will also take place on May 24th.
Think of it as the census, but only shows how many people are experiencing homelessness in San Antonio and Bexar County. It's called the point-in-time count, and it's usually done annually, except last year because of the pandemic. Well, last night, as many as 200 volunteers were back on the streets for 6 hours until midnight. They used a mobile app to do a survey, while also giving out hygiene kits and other supplies. The South Alamo Regional Alliance for the Homeless, or SARA, is looking for the trends. They're trying to find out if there are more veterans, more families fleeing domestic violence, or others needing help.
It's too soon to say if the numbers are growing, but what I will say is that the service level needs are severe.
Vela says the data being collected will help the various agencies within SARA, including the city of San Antonio, to come up with new strategies, programs, and the funding that they'll need. SARA's total count of sheltered and unsheltered was just under 3,000 back in 2020. Its findings for this year will be released in late May.
Firefighters investigating a fire that completely destroyed a home on the northeast side and possibly killed 3 dogs this morning. It happened around 6 a.m. on Moana Drive. Fire crews say 3 men and 5 dogs in the home at the time. One of the men telling them he heard a crackling noise before smelling smoke. Another man suffered from smoke inhalation, was taken to a hospital for treatment. Crews worked quickly to stop the fire from spreading to neighbors' homes. The men also telling the crew some of their fur family was still inside.
I don't know about some of the animals that were inside still. I know for sure 2 were recovered.
Fire crews spent more time searching for the other 3 pets, but had no luck. The exact cause of the fire not yet found, but they did confirm it started in the garage.
Governor Abbott announcing the extension of emergency SNAP benefits today. The Texas Health and Human Services Department providing $310 million in emergency food benefits this month. All SNAP households will receive a minimum of $95 in emergency allotments. This additional emergency allotment should appear in recipients' accounts by March 31st. Violent crime on the rise in San Antonio. Murders in particular are rising. The city's already up by 5 murders from this time last year. And every day, SAPD is responding to a new shooting.
Certainly a violent trend. Chief William McManus not mincing words, expressing his own frustration with the quickness that people are pulling a trigger. He says most of these situations stem from risky behavior, arguments, drugs, hanging out with the wrong crowd. McManus says that's not always the case, and that's where the frustration lies.
The police can't. How can you be somewhere every time somebody takes an issue with something and wants to pull a gun? You can't. And I don't know what the answer to it is.
Tonight on the Night Beat, Chief McManus talks more about the violence and how they're supporting their officers in light of it.
The Russian government says it is sending a delegation for a second round of possible peace talks with Ukraine, even as Russian forces intensify their attacks on civilian and government targets. And
one of the Russian strikes taking out a communications tower and damaging a nearby Ukrainian Holocaust memorial where 33,000 Jews were slaughtered by Nazis.
Ukraine has now confirmed its delegates will participate in the new round of talks tonight. ABC's Faith Abube has the latest.
This morning, civilians in Ukraine bracing for the worst as Russia's 40-mile military convoy slowly approaches the nation's capital. A senior U.S. official says the Russian convoy could be suffering from a lack of food and fuel, or the slowdown may be a strategic move.
When it gets to about 10 to 15 miles, then they can begin the shelling of the city that's our dread there.
Videos show Russian forces already stepping up their assault on government buildings and civilian targets. Women and children packing into a makeshift shelter in an underground parking lot as sirens warning of a potential strike blare in the port city of Odessa. West of Kyiv, a Russian cruise missile reportedly blasting a hospital and a residential neighborhood. Rescue workers running into the burning homes trying to save lives. Ukrainian officials say the explosion killed at least 4 people.
Russia is committing war crimes.
We are following it very closely. It's early to say that.
President Biden asked whether Russia is targeting civilians.
There they are.
The Biden administration saying it's seeing more signs the international financial sanctions are severely impacting Russia's economy, though it's unclear if it's impacting Russian President Vladimir Putin's calculus.
And we are seeing the ruble in a free fall. We are seeing the stock market in Russia has essentially closed.
And Ukraine's former President Poroshenko tells ABC News his country needs more help on the front lines. They're pleading for more armor for their soldiers and weapons like Javelin and Stinger missiles to take down Russian helicopters and tanks. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
Now to the coronavirus pandemic and the president's plan to keep the country moving forward. Yesterday, the State of the Union looking different than it would have just a few weeks ago. With COVID numbers down, everyone went maskless. A sign that things are heading in the right direction. Officials are hoping to keep it that way with a new plan of action.
I can't promise a new variant won't come, but I can promise you we'll do everything within our power to be ready if it does.
The White House also plans to send 475 million vaccine doses to more than 100 countries in hopes of increasing the global vaccination rate and preventing future variants of concern.
We are now officially less than 1 month away from the start of Fiesta, and today community leaders gave the first look of what this year's celebration would look like. This morning, the Fiesta Commission hosting a media day for organizers to discuss what's new this year, like the routes for the Battle of Flowers and Fiesta Flambeau parades. This year, the routes will start on Main Street by San Antonio College, and for the first time in 2 years, Fiesta is going to take place at its normal time.
I think the city's ready to erupt in celebration, and it's well deserved. This community has been working together very well, through some difficult times to get us to a point where we can emerge from this pandemic successfully.
Fiesta will run from March 31st to April 10th this year. For more information on the events, just go to fiestasanantonio.org.
Looking forward to it. All right, let's check out traffic right now. And we are looking at 35, the upper and lower level at Brooklyn near downtown. You can see things are moving slowly, but at least they're moving.
And looking outside right now, we've got some clouds streaming overhead. Those are some mid-level clouds. Should make for a decent sunset in some spots. 40 degrees earlier this morning, then a high temperature of 74 this afternoon. Right now in Del Rio, we're measuring 77 in Warren's backyard, Lakey 73. Shirts right now at 75 degrees. And for the most part, we're in the low to mid 70s at this hour. Through the rest of the evening, temperatures falling off, mid 60s by 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, right near 60 degrees. And we do have another temperature swing to talk about with a cold front in the extended forecast. We'll get to that. Some fog, morning dampness, and even the chance of some showers. We'll talk about that pattern shift in a bit.
Thank you, Adam. Well, whether it's iced or hot, we all want our cup of coffee. It might be easier on the pocket, though, to make it at home. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz tells us the best machines you can use at home.
Attention Fitbit fans. Up next, we're going to tell you why the smartwatch is being recalled and why it could be causing burns on your wrist.
I'm Myra Arthur with a look at stories we are working on for the news at 6. The city's annual point-in-time count took place last night. That's when outreach workers and volunteers hit the streets to get a count of how many people are experiencing homelessness in San Antonio and Bexar County. That issue often a top concern of people surveyed in our area. Well, today at 6, we'll show you how nearly 200 people walking the city hope to find out what the needs of the homeless look like in order to connect them with resources and solutions. Plus,
Tejanos as a whole were committed for the simple reason that it was their land, it was their families, it was their children.
Today is Texas Independence Day, but all these generations later, the story of the contributions of Tejanos just now beginning to be told. Today we take a look at the role that Tejano families played in the Texas Revolution. Those stories and more coming your way on the news at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Myra. I'll see you then. Well, the Fitbit company recalling about 1 million of its smartwatches in the U.S. because they could burn users. This impacts 4 models of Fitbit's Ionic smartwatches. The Safety Commission says the lithium-ion batteries inside that watch can overheat. Fitbit has already received at least 115 reports in the U.S. 70 reports highlighted burn injuries. They were sold nationwide in stores and online between September 2017, December 2021. Customers can contact Fitbit to learn more about that recall.
Exxon Mobil, America's largest oil company, pledging on Tuesday to leave its last remaining oil and gas project in Russia. The energy giant also said it won't invest in new developments in the oil-rich country. This move comes amidst Russia's invasion of Ukraine. BP and Shell also announcing their intention to pull out of Russia. Other Western companies, including Apple, Ford, and General Motors, also have distanced themselves from Moscow recently. If you love Apple products, mark your calendars for March 8th. That's the date for Apple's first big product launch of the year, a virtual event where the company will unveil a series of new MacBooks and iMacs, along with a 5G version of its iPhone SE smartphone and an updated iPad Air.
New at 5, coffee house style drinks, all in the comfort of your own kitchen. Lattes, cappuccinos, wherever your favorite is and whatever your favorite is, there are fancy coffee machines that do it all. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz with test results, and yes, they do make plain old coffee as well.
Whether it's a quick shot of espresso or a foamy cappuccino, those daily coffee drinks can add up.
So nothing beats the vibe of your local coffee shop, but you can easily recoup the money on those lattes by making them at home.
But do home machines that can make the fancy stuff really deliver the same coffeehouse style drink? Consumer Reports put some to the test, looking at brew speed, temperature, how easy they are to use, and of course taste. One of the best, they say, is this DeLonghi Nespresso. It's pricey at about $400, but it can brew coffee, espresso, cappuccinos, and even has a built-in milk frother. For less than half the price, testers like the Ninja Specialty. It brews hot and iced coffee, lattes, macchiatos, and other specialty brews, and has the frother. If you're happy with your current coffee maker, you can up your coffee craft game with a milk frother. They tried several, from whisks to machines.
I wanted to use a variety of milks, so I ended up using whole, skim, oat, and soy.
This Nespresso Aerochino consistently frothed up a variety of milks. It's a $119 gadget. If you want to keep it basic and on budget, this handheld $20 Aero Latte can whip up a variety of milks. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
Or you could just drink tea.
Of course you could. You can find probably a machine to brew that at home as well.
I think you can, but you don't really need a hot beverage on a day like today. It was really pretty out there.
Yeah, very beautiful day today. We've got these mid-level clouds rolling in. Should make for a good sunset for some folks out there just within the next couple of hours. And there's actually a decent amount to talk about. We've got some fog and drizzle on the way, some damp mornings starting tomorrow, warmer nights as well. With increasing humidity, our nights and early mornings will be a little bit warmer, and then another cold front hits us on Monday. Not a very strong cold front, and a March cold front, and we'll get into the details with the temperature change in a bit. First, let's take a look at our pattern, and I want to talk about rain chances, okay? We could really use some good moisture around here. Often as we get into spring, we start to see better rain chances. That's not necessarily the case just yet. You look at the visible satellite imagery, some high and mid clouds streaming overhead. A beautiful sky. To me, I like it. It gives us some variety in the sky, better than just clear blue. I like having a little bit of variety out there, like brush strokes up in the sky today. The overall pattern does feature a little disturbance right now off to the north of us. We've been talking about this one. It's near El Paso, a very weak one. It's just helping to give us some of those mid and high clouds. Now, in the Pacific, this big dip in the upper level flow, that troughiness, we need those big troughs, those dips, to move overhead in order to help generate some showers and thunderstorms. This has been just streaming moisture into the Pacific Northwest for a few days, and it continues to do so. And the pattern is going to favor some precipitation in the western U.S. And notice this big trough, that big dip in the flow in the western U.S. in the coming days and even lasting into next week. It's just the typical pattern of what we've seen most of the winter, where those disturbances just don't get close enough to us to give us good rain chances. So this is just one simulation. I want to go through a time here of potential rainfall accumulation over the next 6 days. And notice how the western U.S., they start to fill up. They get some scattered areas of precipitation. Around here, we're just not close enough to that troughiness and that energy and that activity to really give us much in terms of rainfall. Morning dampness, yes, that's different. That's just some drizzle to start the day. Doesn't add up to anything. It's not really beneficial. Sunday, later in the day, 20% chance. By Monday, we're talking a 30% chance, and mainly just in the morning. Accumulation should be on the light side, unfortunately. All right, let's talk temperatures and even dew points. 73 degrees right now, dew point of 41. It's not necessarily sticky or humid outside, but the dew points will be rising tonight as the temperature drops. The temperatures and dew point are going to meet. That means our air is saturated, and that's going to lead to some fog, I think, to start the day tomorrow. So here's our futurecast for visibility. This starts at midnight. Then notice by dawn tomorrow morning, it's likely for us to see some areas of fog and some reduced visibility. Not necessarily very dense fog tomorrow morning, but I do think it'll turn into that by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mornings. But by the afternoon, or even late morning, visibility is fine, and we'll have a lot of sunshine. Dew points are on the rise, though. So with those increasing moisture levels, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those mornings not just foggy, but also drizzly and damp. That nuisance dampness, reduced visibility, makes the roads a little wet in some spots, but doesn't add up to anything and isn't beneficial. Temperature-wise, 75 Castroville, 73 now New Braunfels, 68 Bernie. Comfortable outside, beautiful. Cotulla right near 80 degrees at 79. Tomorrow morning, we're expecting upper 40s to near 50, a few degrees cooler than that in the hill country. And then by tomorrow afternoon, well into the 70s again, even closer to 80 degrees along the Rio Grande. I mean, Eldendorf about 77, Hondo 77, and Timberwood Park 74 for the high. Other than the morning fog, I do think we'll have a lot of sunshine tomorrow with a light southeasterly breeze, high temperatures in the low 80s as we get into this weekend. And then notice that cold front hits on Monday. We'll see temperatures back on a downward trend next week. Nothing extreme, just low 60s by Tuesday and Wednesday.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, Greg Popovich staring down history, Greg.
It could come as early as Saturday in Charlotte, but for selfish reasons, I'm hoping they split the next two games so he could win it at home.
Here, yeah.
When we come back, we'll set you up for what can happen for head coach Greg Popovich in the next two games and why Jakob Poeltl has one eye on Ukraine coming up. After finishing their rodeo road trip at 4-4, the Spurs return home and, in fact, hit the practice court today to get ready for their final 20 games of the regular season. That starts tomorrow against the Sacramento Kings as the Spurs return to the AT&T Center. The Kings are a game and a half behind the Spurs, who are in the 12th position in the Western Conference, a game and a half behind the Pelicans, who own the 10th and play-in position in the Western Conference. Tomorrow's game is also an opportunity for Spurs head coach Greg Popovich to tie his former boss and mentor Don Nelson for the most wins in NBA history.
Obviously, we care about it. You know, he's a great coach, but, I mean, you guys been around him enough to know he doesn't like the praise and all that stuff. So, you know, we're going to keep working hard and try to get better and, you know, get the win for him sooner or later and just get it out the way.
All right, Pop is always telling us there's more to life than just basketball. No truer words were spoken as we watch what is unfolding in Ukraine. For Spurs center Jakob Poeltl, who was born in Vienna, Austria, the Russian invasion hits a little closer to home for him.
It is very shocking, and it's very sad. And to be honest, I didn't think I was gonna be in a situation like this, where in my lifetime there'd be a war like this so close to where I'm from.
All right, here's the matchup for the Spurs. This will take place tomorrow night against the Kings at 7:30 at the AT&T Center. Three-time NBA champion Bruce Bowen is trying to lead his TMI Panthers to a state championship scheduled for a Friday showdown with the Woodlands Christian in TAP's 5A state semifinals Friday in Waco. In the meantime, he took time to reflect on the milestone that Spurs head coach Greg Popovich is on the threshold of completing, needing to win tomorrow, one more possibly against the Hornets on Saturday in Charlotte to become the all-time winningest coach in NBA history.
He was never about it being about him. He'd joke around and at certain events say, "Hey, Tim, how am I doing?" You know, joking in the standpoint that if we keep, you know, franchise players happy, then everything will work. Well, yes, but he also held franchise players accountable. And it's very rare, I think, in sport where you get that accountability from the head coach that is not concerned with all the limelight and people talking about how great he is.
Most NBA fans are hoping that milestone will be reached against the struggling Lakers at home on Monday. That would be poetic justice.
That would be
nice.
Personally. That would be nice.
But get it when you can.
Yeah, I mean, he's faced LeBron in how many NBA Finals? 3?
Yep, and that's what I thought that would be a better place for it to happen.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
We'll be right back.
Patchy fog in the morning, then sunshine for the midday and afternoon tomorrow. Upper 40s at sunrise, then later on in the day, back into the mid 70s again. And it's going to be similar day to day, but through the weekend. But I do anticipate even denser fog and drizzle and morning dampness Friday through the weekend.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you for watching the News at 5 with us.
World News up next. We'll see you back here at 6.